one being representing a man for Uptown TV. You understand?
So right now, I take care of the swinger. Once a bite, you can you see the now.
So you know him, man. You know Enamel Mog.
Yeah, me talk. You know, sir, Nicholas Francis buy one and me get pay.
So the first is Enamel Mog.
No, my granny won't have one, but he went bigger than this. You know,
the chimney you talk about. Yeah, but what about the chimney?
You know, it's funny. Earlier on, Mr. Arvillin said, at the chimney, people start come up with the chimney, you know, because that really are the biggest thing. So,
yeah, and them have the goblet. Them have the goblet too, you know. Yeah, with flowers round it. It was a setting up on a watch stand, you know, where you put all of them things upon, you know. But the man, you know, Enamel Mug. Last favor, man. Unless it drop. When it drop, it cheap.
But can I tell you something, Muta? We have the Jamaica Cultural, JCDC, Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, on location educating people about our rich cultural heritage, along with Jamaica National Heritage Trust. We have the Tourism Enhancement Fund, we have the Chase Fund. And talking about the Tourism Enhancement Fund, with me, he just gave a very beautiful speech that resonates with the people, the linkage of tourism and culture, and of course, Jamaica. We have Dr. Kerry Wallace. He is the Chief Executive Officer, CEO. Which one of them?
Executive Director.
Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. You're one of the major sponsors of this event. Talk to us about the magnitude of contribution that your organization put into a beautiful, beautiful event like this.
Well, good evening, Teddy, and good evening, listeners. So, yes, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, I mean, our mandate is to enhance destination Jamaica. Yes. And so, yes, we have sun, sea, sand, and beautiful natural assets and so on. But one of the big things about Jamaica is our people, our cultural assets. And so, Jubilee is one of those festivities and activities that really not only provide a good, entertaining cultural experience, but it's something that really resonates with the hearts of the Jamaicans as well. Because when you're here at Seville, when you know the history of what happens that is showcased at Seville, and then when you see all the kind of dances and so on, all the speeches, everything bringing you back to what we've been through as a people and the successes that we've had overcoming adversities, then I believe that every single person here will be able to resonate with it a bit, will be able to think a little bigger, will be able to be a little more committed in their hearts for the development of Jamaica, to make the quality of life of themselves and their people a better one. You see, because when we learn of what our foreparents went through, you know, it's almost unimaginable, you know, the kind of quality life they had to endure. But they fought it, they won, they overturned it, and they brought us to where we now in this generation have the freedom, the physical freedom. Yes. But still, we need to get further to the point where we have economic freedom.
Yes.
Where we are free to choose our comforts in life. Because if you admit it to ourselves now, too many of us are economically bonded. Them can't travel where they want to travel. They can't have them kids in school where they want the kids to go. They can't clothe the kids the way they want to clothe them. They can't eat the foods that they would like to eat. So you still have some more to achieve as a people. And I really believe in this day and age, with the potential of tourism, with the leverage that technology gives us, where everybody's phone can reach to the market, where everybody can set up apps on them phone to invite visitors, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's Uber, whether it's all these opportunities now that you can get the visitors straight to you and you getting tourism dollars straight into your hands. And the blessing we have is the length and breadth of Jamaica has great tourism assets. There's no part of Jamaica where if you drop a tourist, that within a 5-mile radius you can't find a beach or a river or a waterfall or a blue hole or a mineral spa or a mountain or something exciting for them to experience. In fact, if you don't have any of those, the people alone are exciting. The foods that we cook, the music that we play, the dance moves that we have. In fact, when we ask our visitors who are leaving Jamaica, you know, at the airport, we do an exit interview. and we asked them the question, what is the number one thing you liked about Jamaica? You know what the answer is? The people. The people. So 2.9 million of this exciting asset. The people that make people want to come back year after year. Jamaica has the highest repeat rate in the entire Caribbean.
Wow.
So all I'm saying is, I know that this world, there are countries where the resources that they have, the gold mines, copper mines, diamond mines, would make them the richest countries in the world. But yet the people on the surface are the poorest, some of the poorest in the world. And it breaks your heart. It's almost a travesty, them sitting on all these rich reservoirs of wealth. But the people haven't converted it into a good quality of life for the people.
Yes.
People's Republic of Congo, for instance, is a clear example. Here in Jamaica, our wealth is our tourism assets. And it's spread, it's not in any one mine or one limited to one place. It's spread over the length and breadth of Jamaica. And so all we need to convert it is for us, the people, to deliberately use the resources that they have and where they live amongst them to create tourism-related assets, tourism entrepreneurship, whether it's supplying tourism to hotel or so on, whether it's having your own tourism business, tour guiding or Airbnb hosting, whether it's a cook shop, whether, you know, there's so much variety of experiences that you can provide.
Yes.
That can then multiply and create wealth in every nook and cranny of Jamaica, in every community in Jamaica. You see, back 10 years ago, it was difficult for a stush in the bush, for instance, to do well, because how would people know about them? They would have to pay expensive advertising and all those kind of things. Now, with social media, every morning them wake up, them just take some videos of the great farm that they have, farm to table, great food they're making. Before you know it, them sell off. You have to book ahead to get a seat. And so likewise, we have an opportunity now in Jamaica that we've never had before for us to convert this gem that we live on, this paradise that we live in, into income generation using tourism. Remember, you know, we take it for granted that maybe where we live is like everywhere else, you know, but that's not the case. Cayman doesn't even have one mountain.
Yes.
Their highest point is a landfill. Their garbage dump, right? We have Jamaica, you can't count the amount of mountains we have, or we're blessed with.
That is true.
You understand? The best cocoa, the best Blue Mountain coffee, the best rums, the best weed, the best
in the world.
Almost everything we have. In fact, we should know the writing was on the wall now. Our first visitor who came to Jamaica on record, Christopher Columbus, right? And when he came, his words were, "It's the fairest isle the eyes of man has ever beheld." So I want to make, in fact, I'll tell you something, Teddy. Last week, I was checking on luminous lagoons, right? Because you know we have one in Falmouth.
Yes.
And I said, I wonder where we rank in terms of luminous lagoons across the world. So I went on artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and I asked the question, how many luminous lagoons are there in the world? Them says about a dozen. And I said, right, but we're blessed up that at 190 something countries, you only have a dozen luminous lagoons and Jamaica blessed with one. But I'll go further. I asked the question, which luminous lagoon is the brightest in the world? You know the answer?
Yes.
Falmouth, Jamaica. Our lagoon is the brightest in the world. How are we so blessed?
And I think we have to leave it on that note. Dr. Kerry Wallace, we're up on a commercial break. Want to say thank you so much. We have much more to talk about, and I hope we can get the opportunity to speak again.
I hope so too.
And I know that you resonate with the Jamaican people. I can feel it. The people here can feel it. And of course, continue with the good mission that you're doing, you and your company, Tourism Enhancement Fund. All the best, sir.
Thank you, Teddy.
Big up.
Thank you, listeners.
All right, that's what's happening here at Civil Emancipation Jubilee 2024. We're now up on a break. We're going to go right back to main studio. Muta, take it away.
And went away. So only came back here.
So what are your thoughts about the whole works in terms of Emancipation here in Sligoville?
Well, I look forward to every year.
Yeah?
I look forward to every year. This is my son fest.
Yeah? And your name is?
Yes, this is my son.
And your name is?
Norma. Campbell.
And you're from Sligoville?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you very much for speaking to me. All right, let's head into the crowd. We'll speak now to two other persons. Good night, madam. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yes, from Sligoville? Are you from Sligoville? Hold the mic to your mouth, man. You are. Hold on. You turn off the mic, man. Hold on. All right, you're from Sligoville?
Yes, I am.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I do.
You know about the history of Sligoville?
First free village.
First free village?
Yes.
Where old people them tell you?
Huh?
What was told to you when you was a child about Sligoville and free village and so on?
That, I remember.
Yeah. Oh God, man, that don't look good. That don't look good. You can't talk to me. You're from Sligoville?
No.
Where are you from? Where are you from?
No, don't want to.
You don't want. You're from nowhere.
No, please.
Yeah. Where are you from? Space. All right. Thank you very much. Hello. Good night, madam. How are you doing?
Hi, good night. I am great.
Are you from Sligoville?
Yes, I am from Sligoville.
You know about the history of Sligoville?
It's the first free village.
Yes.
Yes.
And how you feel about that?
Well, I feel great to know that it's the first free village and we're having a free concert tonight in Sligoville.
And of course, looking forward to tomorrow.
Sure, definitely.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, good night, madam. How are you doing? I'm from IRFM.
Good night.
Are you from Sligoville?
Yes, I'm from Sligoville.
Yeah, you know about the history of Sligoville?
Yes, I know that Sligoville is the first free village.
Yes?
Yes.
What else them tell you?
This Emancipation is 17 years now we have it going on.
Yeah.
And it is it's organized by Natalie Nita Edley.
Yeah, all right, respect. Hello, good night, how you doing?
Good night, I'm good.
You look like a youngster. You're from Sligoville?
Not originally, but I moved there.
You live here. You know about the history of Sligoville?
A little. I know that it's the first free village.
Yeah.
Free from what? Hey.
That's very good.
Free from what? Ask them free from what?
Free from what?
Slavery, bondage, all of that.
Alright, she's not hearing, but she hear when me ask you the question.
When that happened? When that happened?
When it happened?
I'm not sure.
1834.
1834.
That's all. Alright, thank you. Hello, good night, ma'am. How you doing?
Hi.
Are you from Sligoville as well?
I was born here, but I live in Canada now.
You're from Canada?
Yes.
You're born here, but you live in Canada now?
Yes.
So you know about the history of Sligoville?
Yes.
What you know about it?
We're the first free village.
And as a young girl growing up, what were some of the traditions that you think that was brought, that you learned about growing up in this first free village?
We're very independent.
Yeah?
Yes.
And you learned that from early?
I learned that from very, very young.
All right. Thank you very much. All the best.
Welcome.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, man. So the gospel concert is truly up and running. The people are waving anything they have in their hands right now. It's a massive affair here up in the hills of Sligoville, the first free village, and it's Emancipation 2024. This is our final link for tonight. Of course, you'll be here tomorrow all day interacting with all the persons down here in Sligoville, Emancipation 2024. So until then, Roger Asphalt for the final time. Back to Muta.
Yes, asphalt. Yeah, man.
Bless up.
That was asphalt up in Sligoville there. Everybody says the first free community. Yeah, we now get to talk. Me feel them to talk about more where Sligoville is. You know, not just, it was the first free village. You know, there's more to it than that, man. It's like you ask somebody, well, you know about Marcus Garvey, them saying come from St. Anne. That you don't know about Marcus Garvey. If I don't St. Anne, you can't tell you saying come from. Anyway, that is the indication where we have. That's the mind of the people them there. Alright, you know what we're going to do? We'll go back to Teddy in a civil great house. Teddy.
Yes, Motor, we're coming to you live from a civil great house. And of course, on stage right now we have, what's that? That's what, Kumina? a cultural group on stage dancing and of course showing traditional folk forms there on stage at this time as we speak. Now Muta, the crowd has now swollen a massive crowd. I think we have about 10,000 and counting. More people are making their way inside the venue, and of course everyone are walking with their enamel cup. And of course, they're going for their refill. And can I tell you something? I don't know when Nicholas Francis gone, but a little birdie whisper tell me, say, him buy one big enamel cup, one of the biggest one, right? And him gone back over there, gonna get a refill.
Mine are the chimney buy, you know. Mine are the chimney buy, you know. Are the chimney buy, man.
Muta, it looks like that. It look like a chimney buy. And him say, I'm gonna bring over some so me can get some too. But anyway, we're glad for that. Now, we have lots of sponsors who make it possible, and one of such sponsor is the Chase Fund, and I'm here with he is the managing director or executive director?
Chief Executive Officer.
Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Billy Haven. All right, so welcome, sir. I heard you make a grand statement earlier on stage. Over $2 million in sponsorship. Am I correct?
No, our sponsorship for this event is $5 million. But since Hurricane Beryl, this building that we are now in suffered lots of damage, so we put a further $2.8 million towards the renovation and fixing up of the building.
Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. So, major sponsor for the event. What does this mean, though, for our culture and our heritage?
One of the sectors of the Chase Fund is arts and culture. And this falls right under that mandate of the fund. We have been supporting this event since our inception 21 years ago. I think this event is about 28 years going and still going and going very strong as well. So we always look forward to supporting events like this. This is not the only one. We are supporting the entire list of activities for our independence and emancipation celebration. We just gave the ministry itself over $30 million towards those activities. So we are pretty much a part of the celebration in terms of financing the different activities, so that if you look at the crowd here tonight, so that these people can come here without it costing them anything. It's just really free to them to come here and be reminded of their history, the good part of it, the bad part of it, and so on. But, you know, it brings us together as a people.
Yes, sir, Billy, well said. And I know that you have been sponsoring most events around Jamaica and across the island.
Yeah.
Anything booming right now from the Chase Fund in terms of other initiatives?
Well, as you know, we also have early childhood education as part of our mandate, arts and culture and health. And since the passage of Hurricane Beryl, we have put $110 million in special funds towards these three sectors, $50 million towards early childhood education and $50 million towards health and $10 million towards arts and culture, focusing primarily on the libraries because they suffered a lot of damage right across, but more in particular on the southern coast of the country. And here at Seville as well, we have put $2.8 million to bring back this building.
Yes, Sir Evan, two more questions. For a local community group, our farmers group, our groupings of individuals out there, non-profit, and so they want to get in touch with Chase Fund and to sponsor their projects and their initiative. How can they go about that?
Well, it's a simple application process. We are online. You could apply through our website, but there's a special project facilitation there as well. But you could also write a simple letter to us, and we have project officers who will take it from there and help you to build out your project. Some of the applications that we have seen really come to us at the concept stage, and we have to really help them through. And some of these projects, when they materialize, are really, really good projects and add value to communities and to districts and so on, as we call them here in Jamaica.
Excellent. My final one. I know we have a long list of lineup here, and I can tell you my favorite two entertainers I'm patiently waiting to see perform tonight: Admiral Bailey and George Nooks. Who are your favorite for tonight?
I like both men because I know both men. But you know, as a sponsor, I really don't like to single out and to be caught in that trap. I just like everybody. As a sponsor, I like everybody.
That is being very diplomatic,
yes.
and I respect that.
I do.
All right. Any closing remarks?
I just want the people to come out and have a good time. It is more than about a good time. It is a fundamental part of our history and what our people went through and suffered and all of that. So I really want them to come out and see what is happening here, to be part of this activity every year. Each year at this time, it is held right here at Civil, and you know it can help to enlighten us and to help us to realize who we are as a people, where we're coming from, and where we need to go. Not necessarily where we're going, but where we need to go.
Excellent note to finish this interview on. For those who are just joining, we're talking to Mr. Billy Haven, and he is the CEO of the Chase Fund, the major sponsor for Civil Emancipation Jubilee 2024. Still on the lineup, yet to come to hit the stage, we have Admiral Bailey, we have Leroy Sibley, we have George Nooks, we have Lubert Levy, and of course, festival song winners, gospel song winners, and a host of others, Sister Pat and more. It's an excellent night to come take the family and of course, be a part of the festivities and learn more about our rich cultural heritage right here at the Civil Great House. Muta!
Teddy, what we are stepping with hold on, Teddy. Them not have nobody down there we are talking about Civil Great House. You know, why a Civil Great House did it, so if anybody down there knows that it was once the capital, nobody now they are talking about them something there, and how much people don't them talk about the body them when they down there where IRFM and Million Phillips and ones carry go back to Africa.
No, they never
through the doors have no return. But that, I mean, them not talk about it. The white. You didn't know about that. No, me not teach nobody, man. Me not down there. Me I say, wait, listen to me. IRFM in collaboration with, I mentioned Million Phillips. She died. Carry back the bones of one of the ones them who was buried on that site through the door of no return in Ghana, west coast of Africa. That should be something that is branded in the people them who didn't know, instead of who you wait for to come up on stage and all them something there. I mean, you know that it's a different what?
From you mentioned that bring back the remains, I can recall my visit down here on numerous occasions that they normally, it's a regular thing once you visit the Great House.
Them portion of they come down, they come put weed pan one of the grave them, man.
Yes, man. So
then that no one main thing that you know.
Yeah, man, but I must clarify that I mean Blackwood Meeks on stage, and she have been educating the crowd about most of that. Plus, we have the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. They have team members around the venue and the facility, and also they have a major booth set up, and they have been educating the people about the history and the remains here and the history behind it and all of that. So I didn't know that IRFM played a pivotal role in that Muta.
Well, you should know that. You should know that as a man who is officially outdoor every day you're late for something, you're gone past some outdoor broadcast. That is a very important part of IRFM thing. We used to down there every year, you know.
Yes.
Every year, me and Cabo down there, you know. Sit down on the top of bus and all them something there, broadcast and all them something there. That's all. So it's something where we can't leave out of the whole scheme of the thing. It's not just a matter of, you know, we're going to have gospel concert and no reggae concert and all them something there. It's much more than that, man. Emancipation, I'm talking about, you know.
Yes, man. They have been saying it, Muta. They have been saying it. And I can testify that it has been repeating over and over to the people here and the young people. And Muta, I must mention that we have a very young, a mixed audience, and I'm seeing a lot of babies, the families, young people out, Muta. And it's right now, it's 50-50 in terms of the balance.
And they must get the message. And they must get the message, you know. Because if you never have a concert down there, whole part of them wouldn't be there. So since you, where you laugh at? I don't lie.
No, because that's true.
Yeah, so now that you have a concert down there, you should have them attention by putting in some of them something there, down there that we can't hear it on the radio. I mean, I hear not about it. I mean, I hear about how much man put money in this and man put money in that.
Yeah, you know, we have to big up with sponsors then.
No, me not say enough to big them up. Me not say enough to big them up. Me not say enough to big them up.
Motor, I go and walk, go down in the crowd and go in for the next link and say we can interact with somebody, but you don't know a thing already.
No, me not say nothing about that. Watch out, me not say enough to do what you do, you know, Bridget. But me not say, every time you go link you, me go hear say, you know, the sponsor you put how much $1 million there so, and tourist attraction there so, and, you know, cave and this is that and that. You know what I mean? It have to have something.
Motor,
so
at
the
12
people in
o'clock,
my ear come across the radio, man.
That is true. At 12 o'clock, I think you're saving that for the Honourable Minister, and we will be speaking with
Which minister? Which minister?
The Honourable Babsy Grange. And she will be speaking. And you and her go way back. So you and her will have that interaction at 12.
No, you what? Let me tell you something. Last year, yes. Me and Cabo did down there, you know, and it create one thing with the foreign affairs mistress and Babsy there. Because we ask some question and we need some answers, and it kind of get a little weird that them lock her off and make she can't answer no more questions between me and Cabo. So I don't know if Teddy is the one with them say no. I better make Teddy come. Me a calf. Anyway,
all right.
give thanks.
We'll link again, Muta.
Yeah, I read.
Respect.
Thanks. Yeah, that was Teddy. I read from outside broadcast coming through live and in living colors. All right, me could go back to this. Big people and all them something there. And we asked them about Marcus Garvey, and the only thing them can't tell you about Marcus Garvey is that him born at St. Anne, you know. Yeah, man, that's all they can tell you. Say Marcus Garvey born at St. Anne. I say, all right, so what? Tell me something about Marcus Garvey. Not even the teacher them know about Marcus Garvey. No Emancipation Day. I can't tell you the Reparations says about 10,000 people down there. Most side, I go be sure and then everybody go home. I mean, like say, nobody come in. I mean, a black go down there and she never no say nothing about it. But it's a celebration of history where you should have, and it necessarily have to have, one only who can speak to why the celebration is happening. And not only why, but just like what we are talking about, you know, civil great house and the bodies them that was there. And as I say, one of the most important things happening at civil great house is the return of that bone to Ghana. That open a whole heap of door for make other countries, even in New York City, and move back bones go to Ghana too, to the door of no return. No, that you can't just mention that, or you cannot mention that. I the only radio station we get so deep into what is necessary to move the minds of the people there. Me and the Bridget, I tell you, I interview with the first Bridget, and I tell him, I tell you about, you know, we need to come, we need to, we're free, we save out of bondage, and we need to free, you know, and we have economics. Him not mention the mind of the people, them. The mind of the people, them is totally warped. Totally warped. Especially the youth, them. Them don't know if them going backward or forward. Crazy. Look how much of the youth them are. I see the police them are around for shoot, man, and kill them now. Them not around for so much. It's the killing of going down a Nigel there. Down a West. 4 of them get licked, you know. I don't know how the brother drive the car out of the water. Where him think him can go? Him think of overcraft. We need to take the thing more serious, Rasta. Man, I talk about emancipation. What the hell is emancipation? Who come up with that? Who come up with that slogan, emancipation? What emancipation have to do with independence? It's a total different thing. Emancipation is depend the mark and them take it off. We, Rasta, I can mention JUL and Macaulay and all them man there, go in a park and all them there and demonstrate and then put it back on the map. Then put it back on the calendar. Because it come off of the calendar. Very important. I know it depends on the calendar as just a name, Emancipation Day. And when you look on Emancipation Day, which is supposed to be a landmark move in history where Africans fight, white people fight for them right, to liberate themselves. That the amount of plantation where they have burned down and the white man couldn't take it no more. He must yield. He must yield in England about this emancipation. So it's not like say the people them know about these things. You know, when they ask you, what do you know about Sligoville? It's the first free area in Jamaica. So what? So what that mean now? Free from what? Free from what? I don't know, I'm going to manage with them so, you know, because I can't just sit down and hear certain things and not say something. You know what I'm saying? I can't just sit down and hear certain things and not say something, man. People have to know Sligoville. Why we come up here, so it's not to see a stage show. If you don't have that, them come for do. But you who create that thing must put something in it that the people them can go away with and tell them pick. And most of them people don't know what it is more than the first free village. That's all them know. There's more to it than that. More to it than that, man. Because you have to come from Spanish Town, you have to come up the hill and pass Pinnacle. You have to pass Pinnacle. You can go down through Red Hills and you can go down through the gorge. But there's more to it than that. And that is where there is more to it me I talk about. The more to it. What we need to know. Just like when I talk about Marcus Garvey. There's more to Marcus Garvey than him born at St. Anne. And him did have an organization named UNIA. And most of them, when you tell them, sorry, so what UNIA mean? Them don't know what it mean. Them don't know what UNIA mean. Most of the teachers them are teaching at Jamaica don't know what UNIA mean. Me not ask somebody that. Me know that. We're going to go a break and come forward. Civil Great House says, Teddy, not ready for me. My walk go down the ground there.
What you want and what you will, working for your dollar bill. Start to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. Walking home, a youth gets killed. Neighbors free to shoot at will. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. 9 to 5, you know the drill. Weekends are a short-lived thrill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. Cup run it over till it spill. Take until they've had their fill. Hurts to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. Some of us think we're too big because the system gives us jobs, even though it's just a low-paying gig. Some of us will boast and brag, and those of us who think we're small, just because we don't have much, it's really not the case at all. As riches that the flesh can't touch, what men want and what they will, working for $1 bill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. Walking home, a youth gets killed.
What?
Teddy? Wow.
Yes, Muta, we're live.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, Mutabaruka, we're actually on the stage right now. We have entertainers performing. The crowd is upbeat, and everyone having a wonderful time. Now, I am actually out and about in the audience, interacting with the people and finding out how them like the Emancipation Jubilee and the 411 and what is happening here. Okay, what's your name?
Adriana Connor.
And which parish are you from?
St. Catherine.
St. Catherine. How do you learn about this? Is it the first time?
Yes, it's my first time.
And how are you loving it so far?
It's amazing.
Yes. What's your message right now to any Jamaican that is not here at this time?
Well, if you're a Jamaican and you're not here, you need to get here. It's an all-nighter, so don't worry, you won't be late. Just get here.
And remind us of your name again?
Dadrian.
Dadrian. All right, Dadrian. Big up yourself. All right, we're going to go now. We're going to talk to the next lady. What's your name?
My name is Melissa.
And where you from?
I'm from the United States. I'm from Queens.
Wow,
Texas.
Queens, New York. Queens in New York, not
Queens,
true?
New York.
Yeah. And what brought you to Jamaica?
Well, I came for my birthday, which was yesterday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yes, man. And how are you enjoying the festival so far?
I'm loving it.
Wow.
I'm waiting on Candy Isaac, one Jamaica.
Candy Isaac. All right, Alan, you're a big fan of her.
Yes, I am.
Did you get a chance to having the chocolate tea?
Oh, it was lovely. I love it.
All right.
I wish to get another one.
Another one. What's your message to Jamaican right now in the diaspora about, coming back home and be a part of emancipation and independence?
We need everybody to come together as one. That's my most important message. Come together as one. Be kind to each other. A smile goes a far, far way.
All right, and we're getting all this message from?
Melissa.
All right, Melissa. Big up yourself. You don't want to shout out nobody IRFM in life?
I want to shout out to my brother Andrew Williams. He's over there in Florida. And my brother Dave Williams, also my sister. Her birthday was just a few days ago. So happy birthday to my sister Michelle and my nephew Jason. And all the Tatius Golding High School alumni. Big up yourself. It's Melissa. Coming from Melissa 07, Tatius Golding High.
All right, so big up yourself. I know patrons alone there, we have police officers here. We have police officer. I saw her earlier on, and from night, we said we have to go trouble the officer here. Because, she's so humble. And everywhere you turn to see a police officer, ensure that the peace is in place. How many years have you been coming here?
About 4 years.
4 years. You're from St. Ann?
Yes, I am from St. Ann.
Okay, where is your station?
Ocho Rios.
Ocho Rios, right. I tell you, Ocho police have whole power. Not true?
Yes, we have a lot.
All right, so you're enjoying the emancipation so far?
Yes, I'm enjoying it.
All right, what is the message to Jamaicans who are home and not here to be a part of this historic moment?
Yes, it's a good event, and it would be great for all Jamaicans to come and see what is happening and to participate and have more experience of what took place over the past years.
Yes.
And I know that you will be enthused.
All right, you need to share your name with us so your other colleagues can hear, because you know IRFM thing loud.
District Constable Leonie Henry from the Ocean Police Station.
All right, Miss Henry, big up yourself. Who you want big up? You know what big up the body?
I want to big up I want to big up my husband, Christopher Henry. Also my son, Christopher Henry, Jamal Henry. My co-workers, my sub-officer, Inspector Faulkner and Inspector Forbes from the OHS Police Station.
All right, Miss Henry, big up yourself.
Thank you.
All right, so Muta, that's the 411 happening here. Very festive moment right now. And, I tell you, Muta, Nicholas Francis Garon, so I must say, how much cup you got, Nicholas?
One cup. One? Tell the man, say, chimney my use, man. I chimney my drink out, man.
No, Muta,
no.
Teddy, I do that.
Muta, say, enamel cup with the general.
Me have an enamel
look
cup
like
from
one chimney.
About 10-year-old, you know.
You take care of it?
Me carry it too.
Then that no must rust, man.
Why, he get so little bruise there, but...
What if a chip in guard for that?
I want to tell you, say, it much heavier than the other one, and the other one bigger than it. The material, my own material is the original material.
Okay.
The new one, them lighter.
China material.
Yeah,
Alright, sir.
The thing are going good, you know?
Yeah, man, of course.
Yeah, Muta, we want to big up them ladies there, because they say them job is to go around and ensure that everybody gets food. What's her name?
Shanique Watson.
And where you from?
Brownstown.
Brownstown is my place. Where we want to big up a Brownstown? Fast.
Big up to my family from Lincoln, Elaine Wishart, and my daughter, Latin Noble.
Are we getting the information from?
Shanique Watson.
All right, what's her name?
Peter Gay Consing.
Where you from?
Brownstown.
Brownstown again? No, sound of Brownstown there. Who you want big up fast?
Alright, first one big up Corporal Nevers from Brownstown. And my entire family from Trainline.
Alright, where say?
Yeah, I'm big up to my sister, Danique Weston from RFM.
What? Danique Weston? No, man, your sister, your family, I'm going to call a family. Alright, Muta, the final one we have, the final one to run good. So that's what's happening right now.
Teddy. Where have you tell me the ingredients of the chocolate tea there?
Them use the cocoa.
No, me know a chocolate tea must have that in there. Why?
Yes.
Why?
And it look like a coconut
coconut juice.
Coconut juice.
Yeah.
Muta, cause if nutmeg in it too.
Cinnamon no in there, cinnamon in there?
Yes, cinnamon nice.
Okay, and it's sweet with sugar and thing. A good thing that.
Yes.
It tastes different. It tastes different, like authentic.
I mean, where's the taste different? Oh, the other one where you know taste for it.
Muta, it have the original taste.
The other one tastes like, pure powder, this is.
Which other one you talk about?
You know the other cocoa you buy at supermarket?
Muta, we are talking about here. Tell the half, you know.
I don't know what I'm talking about. A chocolate, you know, nobody call the cocoa like them people that are chocolate tea.
Yeah, some chocolate tea where they sell in a bag, you know. In the pouch, them little sash them. That's not the real one.
The one where you buy a market, you know, the one where people make and buy, put them, the round up one them, the round one like dumpling.
Yeah, me know them one.
We used to beat them in the mortar, you know.
Yeah. Round them up and thing, yeah.
Yes.
Sure. And Nicholas, are you me should have talked to Rasta? Are you me should have talked to? Sure. I'm ready to know about cocoa tea, Rasta. All right.
Okay, Muta, me know cocoa tea this thing, man. We are talking about, man.
You see what I mean? I don't say you don't know about cocoa tea and joke business. Anyway, keep talking.
I think I know about.
Yeah.
Hey, Muta, big up yourself.
All right, sir. Big up, man. Blessed.
All right, boss.
All right, that was Teddy and Nicholas on the outside broadcast, RFM outside broadcast. Civil Great House. Okay. So we'll have played this show before the break. So, at 6 minutes to the hour, when I'm going to usher in Emancipation Day, 6 minutes time, Emancipation Day begin. The freedom of African people on the plantation them in a Jamaica. Freedom. Freedom is a good thing. You have freedom though, and you have freedom. And you have people who dumb when them say them free. We need to aggressively make it known that we need some form of education towards our liberation struggle and what brings us to this point. Yes, we need to understand what brought us to this point and how we're going to cross over. Because too much of we is so ignorant of the legacy that a whole heap of people died for, that we can reach this point And we need to carry it further now. And we're afraid. And we're just ignorant, dark, and just maintain the same backward master understanding of self and backward master understanding of life. We need to come out of that mold and start duplicate ignorance. God know I the Emancipation Day.
Actually, happy Emancipation Day to all Jamaicans, yard and abroad and locally. Right now we have in the reading of the proclamation on stage right now. And of course, there will be lots of symbolic activities right now. But we just pull him away from the minister. He has been critically involved in the whole planning, coordination and execution. Mr. Sidney Bartley, former PS and and director of
Muta don't laugh.
Wow, man, I like to see you, brethren.
But Muta, me they all about the place, brethren.
Eh?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Maybe give my talent.
And somebody tell me them. Somebody tell me them see you down there, you know.
Yeah, man. Maybe give back my talent to Jamaican people, you know.
All right, sir.
Have to be supported.
All right, sir. Give thanks to hear you.
Well, go on.
Yeah, man. I got you still.
As always, brother. Keep it going.
Yeah, man. So you sound stuff up like me, so you sound stuff up like me, man.
Enough work, Muta, enough work.
All right, sir.
Trying to get a certain element of this program tonight.
Tonight, okay.
There's an element that I've been involved in that comes right after this.
What that? Tell me.
What has happened is that you know that an apology, a formal and sincere apology, is the first step towards reparations.
Yes.
Right. And although we've been trying to get the British government to apologize and to make reparations, there are some citizens of England, of the UK, who have discovered that their ancestors were in fact enslavers. And they have been horrified by the discovery that the wealth that they have earned have come out of enslavement. And they have approached the ministry over months, seeking an opportunity to formally apologize and to align themselves with the movement to lobby the British government for reparations.
Them involve the Jacks family?
No, the Jacks family is not a part of this.
Okay, because you know they're not Barbados.
I know, right. But we have our own Jacks also. There's a connection.
They're the same people, them.
But what we're doing is building.
Yeah.
So we start with a group that has come together. They call themselves Heirs of Slavery.
Okay.
And what they have done is some of them have apologized. They have not been able to be here physically. And they have sent a video apology.
Okay.
Various families. The Gladstone family. You remember there was a prime minister called Gladstone.
Gladstone, yes.
The Harrison family. The Wedderburns. The Rentons. And there's one family that is actually here. Two sisters, Heidi and Kate, have come all the way from New Zealand. Apparently they moved to New Zealand.
Yes.
They had an estate called at Argyle in Hanover. And they actually came to Jamaica. They have gone to Argyle. They visited Argyle. They spoke to the people of Argyle, apologized to the people of Argyle. And then they are here tonight to do a formal apology to the people of Jamaica.
Okay.
The Guardian newspaper discovered that one of their founders was in fact an enslaver.
Yes.
And they have sent a formal apology. Okay. And they have decided that they're going to work with us to lobby the British population towards seeking reparations from the British government.
Any Beckford did it?
No Beckford.
Any Brown did it from Brownstone. Anybody Brown did it. You never know that. You never know everybody.
I know that. No, man. Almost every place in Jamaica.
Yeah, man. Brown
is the name of an enslaver.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that the Archbishop of Canterbury, he apologized at the Anglican service the other day. We are carrying a part of that apology tonight as well to the whole Jamaican diaspora.
Okay. So we'll hear that
right
part here. Can we hear that part here?
Yeah, man, because it comes right after this.
Okay.
We have created a production to promote
Yeah, but why you're upon the year? Why you're upon the year?
Well, Irie's here, so you have to be able to do it. But it comes right now. The minister and some people are laying floral tributes, so I've got to go to the stage to coordinate.
Okay,
the stage
all right.
of the apology.
Yes, all right, sir. Give thanks.
But this is a major thing.
Of course.
For the first time, at least,
That's why I'm saying why you're upon the year that the whole of Jamaica can hear them over the
Yes,
night.
my brother. Yes.
Tell you to put it on radio.
If there's any time, yeah, man, because we are CPTC is recording it, and so if at the end of it, if there's space to talk about it, we can talk, and if there's an opportunity, as I said, the two sisters are here. The two sisters are here.
And I love to talk to them too.
Yeah, so if you wait until if we are able to get back to you after it's done, I'm willing to take them right here to speak.
All right, sir. You hear that, Teddy?
Yes, Buta. Yeah.
All right, bring them to talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. No.
All right, Bridget.
Yeah. All right.
They're gonna run now.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sidney Bartley. Of course, a stalwart and veteran.
Yeah, long time in the boat. Long time in the boat.
Yes, long time. I know him first, long, for many years in the ministry. So, Muta, that's a 411. They kind of scale down the activities now to pay respect to the ancestors.
Yeah.
And there are a series of administrative things that will be done now to spread the message of the importance of this event. So, that's the 411 happening. We're going to close off now. I just want to say thanks to Nicholas Francis. We will join the apology as your request. So we'll have to move now closer to the stage to get a feed from the stage.
All right, sir. Give thanks.
Respect, Muta, bless.
Reduced or removed by the passage of time? That's the question raised by our next document. More than 300 years, European merchants forced Africans onto slave ships and transported them across the Atlantic Ocean. And Britain played a huge part in this human trade. British ships carried around 3 million slaves to America and the Caribbean, where they worked on plantations, helping wealth of the City of London name. God Almighty has set before me the abolition of the slave trade. So wrote the great reformer William Wilberforce. And yet, during the 18th century, there were slaves in the Caribbean who bore branded on their chests the word society. This 1817 register of slaves in Barbados reveals that society means the honourable and reverent society for the propagation of the gospel in foreign parts, the missionary arm of the Church of England. And here is that society listed as owning some 400 slaves. Here then is every man, woman and child owned by the society. We see that their ages range very considerably. Cudjoe is 70 years old and he's working as a domestic. It seems that Ben George can be set to work as a grass gatherer even though he's only 10 years old. Some slaves are still alive at a very grand age. Here's Rita, who's 90 years old. She's infirm. She's no longer working. But on the other hand, Okoa and Kwashiba, who are both 80 years old, are both still working as nurses. Don't reveal the conditions that some of the slaves would have endured. 12-hour working days in intense heat. Punishments such as the lash or being put in leg irons. For the slave owners, like the church, it was the profit of the plantation that mattered. These pages bear the musty smell of their 200 years and also the stench of hypocrisy. Still see the wealth in our capital constructed on the foundations of slavery. The Corporation of London had its seat in the magnificent Guildhall. Sir William Beckford made a fortune from slave plantations in Jamaica and was twice Lord Mayor. William Beckford, the Lord Mayor, might have been focused on profit, But the church added a moral purpose to slavery.
It is problematic, but they also recognize that these slaves, that Africans, come from this dark continent, and therefore they need to be civilized. And slavery, while not perfect, provides an opportunity for bringing Africans into the body of humanity.
Does the Church of England succeed with this mission of civilizing the slaves?
It's a complete failure. They failed to convert the numbers that they had hoped to, partly because Christianity provides a point of resistance for slaves. How do you resist this terror? Well, you refuse to take on their religion. They brand slaves with hot irons as a sign of ownership, and they flog them to death, and they also sell them off when they can't work anymore.
So they don't treat them any better than slaves on any other plantation?
That's what the historical documents suggest, that the Church of England plantation is no different to any other plantation.
The international slave trade was abolished in 1807. But it wasn't until 1833 that Parliament outlawed slavery as an institution. Compensation was paid, not to the slaves, but to their owners. Documents show that for freeing its slaves, the church received nearly £9,000, a fortune at that time.
We have in Britain today a history of churches, of church buildings that are built on the blood and sweat and brutalization of Africans.
In 2006, the then Archbishop of Canterbury apologized for the Church of England's role.
Only necessary to come to Jamaica to apologize for the slavery that their ancestors took part in and still is taking part in. So here we go again.
Slavery is a system of forced labor that has existed throughout the world for thousands of years. In America, slavery began in the 17th century when people in Africa were overpowered and forced to leave their native land, their culture, and their families behind.
Europeans and others did not simply march into Africa and just take people off. I mean, there were battles, there were wars that were lost, by the British, by the French, by the Portuguese, as well as those which were won. You had males and females leading forces against the enslavers.
Europeans responded by coercing one tribe to enslave another, threatening to arm their enemies with terrifying new weapons if they did not cooperate. These tribal slave traders selected strong, healthy males and females between the ages of 18 and 35, although children were often captured as well. The African captives were chained together at the ankle or wrist, or linked at the neck by a wooden yoke. Once bound, the captives embarked on a grueling march, sometimes as long as 600 miles to the coast, where European ships awaited them. Many perished from the rigors of the trip. Others resisted their captors and were killed. The Atlantic crossing took from 4 to 8 weeks. Men, women, and children were crowded into tightly packed quarters. The ordeal was so demoralizing that the Africans often sank into a deep depression. Some chose death rather than to endure the degradation.
On ships, by simply, if the opportunity offered itself, by leaping off and drowning or whatever. Once they were bound by the continental United States, the protest took the form more of insurrection.
The first slaves in the American colonies, a cargo of about 20 Africans, arrived at Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. The number of enslaved Africans increased steadily each year. By 1763, the colonial population included an estimated 230,000 Africans, most of them slaves in the South.
A slave was someone who could be forced to work from the age of 8, 6, 4 even. Long hours at tasks that someone else decided. A slave was a person who had no right to a vacation. A slave was a person who had no rights to wages. A slave could have no property. A slave could not marry.
By the late 18th century, the textile industry had entered a period of rapid development in both England and in the northern United States. This growth created a tremendous demand for southern cotton. In 1793, Eli Whitney developed the cotton gin, a machine that cleaned cotton 5 times faster than manual methods. As a result, more slaves were needed to pick and haul the cotton. By 1860, there would be 4 million African slaves in the United States. This enormous population of slaves was owned by a small group of the wealthiest and most powerful whites in American society. As African slaves toiled in the fields, laws were created to enforce their low status. They were prohibited from participating in lawsuits, from owning property or firearms, and from possessing alcohol. Most states did not recognize slave marriages and often prohibited slaves from learning to read and write. The treatment slaves received from their masters varied tremendously. Some owners were brutal sadists who worked their slaves mercilessly and threatened them with corporal discipline so painful that it amounted to torture.
And if you were ordered to do a task that you knew would be dangerous to you, you had to do it. So even though it's tempting to put poverty and slavery together, they were very different. And the difference is that enslaved workers had no rights.
A slave had no protection from this mistreatment because the law considered a slave another man's property, not a human being. When a slave suffered a whipping, he could neither fight back nor take his master to court. Slaves developed an independent culture unknown to their masters. They spun fantastic spoken narratives that passed from one generation to the next. These folk tales expressed the enslaved Africans' aspirations for a better life. Many slaves found strength to endure oppression through their religion, which blended Christianity with African beliefs.
Spirituality was a strong force in the life of the slave. Slaves could turn to God with all of their problems. Slaves could ask God to either relieve them of the burden of a brutal slave master or to free them from the day-to-day struggle in their lives.
At the core of slave society was the family. Slave families suffered when one member was sold to another plantation. Owners usually kept women and children together, selling off the father and sons. On the well-established plantations, black families had a better chance of remaining intact, some enduring for 3 or 4 generations. Although religion, folk tales, and family life softened the horrors of slavery, they did not lessen the humiliating aspects of servitude. Slaves sought more direct means of resisting their bondage through violent rebellion or subtle and covert acts of resistance.
You found people who were enslaved that resisted by working very slowly, pretending that they didn't know how to do something, accidentally breaking equipment, just slowing down the process, not happy-go-lucky going along with everything. These were all forms of resistance.
Wherever there were Africans in the Western Hemisphere, there were slave revolts. Haiti's Toussaint Louverture helped rid the island of European domination by organizing his people into a standing army of several thousand troops. The best-known slave revolt in U.S. history occurred in 1831 in Southampton, Virginia. It was led by a plantation headman named Nat Turner, who rose up in revolt with other slaves and killed the plantation owner and his family. The rampage was halted when local militia crushed the rebellion, capturing and executing Turner. Many men and women known as abolitionists worked unceasingly to end slavery. They viewed slavery as immoral and unchristian and could not comprehend how Americans, steeped in the tenets of the Declaration of Independence, could sanction the enslavement of human beings. Many former slaves, like Sojourner Truth, supported the abolitionist movement. She traveled widely, speaking for both racial and gender causes.
Sojourner Truth, using her very strong religious beliefs, felt this need, this urge to travel the country, delivering her message of upliftment for black people, and ultimately did become someone who was involved in many other activities, including the abolitionist movement, including the women's movement.
The abolitionist movement attracted members of both races, including the prominent journalist William Lloyd Garrison, who published The Liberator, the leading anti-slavery newspaper of the day. Frederick Douglass, another towering figure in the anti-slavery movement, was born a Maryland slave in about 1817. Escaping to the North, he became an agent of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society and a tireless orator for black freedom. In 1847, Douglass founded an abolitionist newspaper, the North Star.
He was politically active and simply involved in every aspect of life that he could in an attempt to improve the status of black Americans in the 19th century. There's certainly individuals in the 20th century, such as Martin Luther King, who had a similar impact as Frederick Douglass did in his time. So I would say to a high school student that who is more likely to know of Martin Luther King in our modern time, that he should be aware of Frederick Douglass as the equivalent of a Martin Luther King in the 19th century.
On plantations, slaves performed numerous jobs and were placed in hierarchical ranks. Field slaves were usually divided into gangs of 5 to 10 and supervised by a slave driver, often a slave himself. Many slaves escaped to freedom along a series of trails known as the Underground Railroad. The railroad was a loose network of people willing to hide runaway slaves in their homes and conduct them to the next station or safe house until they could reach the free North. The Underground Railroad was also aided by Northern abolitionist organizations such as the Philadelphia Vigilance Committee, who gave supplies and helped conduct slaves to freedom.
The Philadelphia Vigilance Committee was a very important group engaged in aiding fugitive slaves. It was a group that had operated from the late 1830s into the early 1840s, and it was comprised of fugitives as well as free blacks and white supporters. It was a group that aided the Underground Railroad, and their primary job was to aid fugitives with food and clothing and money, and to direct them on to other places.
Pursued by angry slave masters and bounty hunters, the route for escaped slaves was perilous and hard. Many did not survive the hardship or were caught and returned to their masters. The most famous guide on the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. Having escaped from a Maryland plantation in 1849, she became familiar with the roads, hiding places, and depots that were used to conduct runaways to freedom in the North.
Harriet Tubman was a brave, courageous, wise, and kind person. Not only did she concern herself about her liberty, but she concerned herself about people of all races. As you know, one reason why the Underground Railroad is so popular among people throughout the world is that people of all races, creeds, and colors came together.
Tubman's method relied on secrecy and surprise. She would gather money and supplies in the North, then slip down to the eastern shore through Delaware and into Maryland, arriving unannounced until the last moment. She would make contact with the slaves who were ready to escape.
She would simply appear on the eastern shore, and the word would be quickly spread to all of those who were determined that they would be free, where they should meet her at the appointed hour. And of course, those who chose freedom met her there and embarked with her on the trek to freedom. After she learned from her first venture that she could not trust slaves to determine that they were going to drop out, she packed a revolver, and for those who determined that they were going to turn around, she told them go forward or die.
To avoid suspicion, Tubman sang traditional slave spirituals to relay coded messages to slaves.
She stole away into the night, crept along the various slave quarters or cabins, oftentimes whispering or knocking on doors, more or less singing. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. I ain't got long to stay here, was a coded spiritual informing the slaves to steal away.
Having gathered her flock, Tubman would travel at night and conduct them to Delaware, Pennsylvania. She used only the most trusted contacts and safe houses along the route of the Underground Railroad. One such key station on the Underground Railroad was Johnson House in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Owned by Quakers, Johnson House was a safe haven for exhausted runaway slaves. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act intensified the risk for runaway slaves. Under federal law, any Negro accused of being a runaway could be returned to slavery by the sworn statement of the slave's owner. Northern states that had been safe for fugitive slaves became dangerous as runaway slaves were hunted for reward. To be safe, Tubman extended her Underground Railroad trail to St. Catharines, Canada, a town near Niagara Falls.
Walk together, children, walk together, children. Don't become weary. We're going to make it to the promised land. I have shoes, you have shoes, all God's children have shoes. When you get to heaven, going to put on their shoes and walk all over God's heaven. Heaven was a code word for Canada.
During her trips to the South, Harriet Tubman became known as the Moses of her people, referring to the biblical Moses who delivered his people from Egyptian bondage. She successfully conducted over 600 slaves to freedom, including her own family.
And freedom is a word that has tremendous resonance, particularly for Black Americans, but also for Americans in general, because slavery stands right behind it. And we know so much about what slavery meant. Slavery was a terrible condition that no one wanted to embrace or to be part of. So freedom is glorious because it's the denial, it's the triumph over slavery.
In 1857, the growing abolitionist movement suffered a setback when the United States Supreme Court handed down a controversial decision in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford. Dred Scott, a black slave, brought suit against his owner on the grounds that he had legally become emancipated while traveling through the free soil state of Illinois. The Supreme Court ruled against Scott, declaring that as a black man he was not a United States citizen and thus had no right to bring a suit in a federal court. More importantly, the court ruled that a slave did not automatically gain his liberty by entering a free state.
The legal system was available to African Americans to a certain extent, which means that they could pursue their grievances through the courts, but it did not mean necessarily that the courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time.
Brown wrested control of the armory, killed the town's mayor, and seized several hostages before he was captured by federal authorities and hanged 2 months later. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. He opposed the expansion of slavery and his victory threw the South into revolt. By March of 1861, 7 states, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Texas, had seceded from the Union to form a coalition they called the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began 1 month later when Confederate gunfire sounded over the federal stronghold of Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Lincoln responded by issuing a call for 75,000 volunteers to man the Union Army.
Some historians argue that economic issues were of utmost importance in the causing of the war. Many historians, though, have come to the conclusion in recent years that slavery was the key issue which caused the Civil War. At the heart of the Civil War was the issue of whether or not the slave states were going to be able to maintain their status.
The abolitionists presented the president with 2 demands: the right of freed blacks to fight with the Union Army and the emancipation of the slaves.
The abolitionists were the men and women, black and white, that wanted to abolish or to end slavery. Many of the abolitionists were in the North, and they fought for many years to change the system that the country had accepted.
I'd like to add also that for women abolitionists, speaking in public was tremendously courageous. That the early 19th century was a time in which women did not generally speak in public. It was not considered the thing to do for respectable women.
Eventually, Lincoln acceded to both demands. Nearly 185,000 blacks fought valiantly during the Civil War, and about 38,000 of them gave their lives to the Union's cause. In December 1862, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, abolishing slavery. The war's end in April 1865 brought freedom to nearly 4 million slaves. Freedmen, as both males and females were called, celebrated throughout the South on plantations or at crossroads between them.
By word of mouth, news of the Emancipation Proclamation spread, I believe, like wildfire throughout the Confederacy. The ability of African Americans to transmit messages before the Civil War, during the Civil War, is legendary, and this was another example of that legendary ability to communicate.
In December 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, guaranteeing the hard-won freedom of African slaves. It stated, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States." Emancipation throughout the South was followed by a period of intense confusion in which blacks made the dramatic transition from slavery to citizenship.
At first, a number of slaves decided to walk about, as the expression was in that time, to test freedom, to see what it really meant. But they soon discovered that life meant more than just having simple freedom without economic support. And so many were forced to go back to the old plantations and to contract with their owners for work.
In 1867, Congress, fed up with the pussyfooting of the president, who was then Andrew Johnson, a slaveholder from Tennessee, and a man who had been Lincoln's vice president and who ascended to the office with the assassination of President Lincoln, passed the first Reconstruction Act in March of that year. And that placed the 10 of the 11 states of the Confederacy, the Fighting South, under military rule in 5 districts.
What they should be aware of is the range of extremely important contributions that African Americans have made to American society over the years, and that they've been able to make these contributions in the face of overwhelming odds. They have fought for rights which had been denied them, and which we now have available to us, and which quite often, quite frequently, we abuse, we don't take full advantage of.
The Civil War destroyed the institution of slavery, but it did not end the racism of white Southerners who wanted their former slaves to retain their inferior status. Discrimination against Americans of African descent would continue. Like Tubman and Douglass before them, new leaders would be called forward by African Americans to guide their fight for freedom.
Boswell, one of my favorite a cappella groups. Here we go. We are the ones. Sweet Honey.
She used only the most trusted contacts and safe houses along the route of the Underground Railroad. One such key station on the Underground Railroad was Johnson House in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Owned by Quakers, Johnson House was a safe haven for exhausted runaway slaves. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act intensified the risk for runaway slaves. Under federal law, any Negro accused of being a runaway could be returned to slavery by the sworn statement of the slave's owner. Northern states that had been safe for fugitive slaves became dangerous as runaway slaves were hunted for reward. To be safe, Tubman extended her underground, handed down a controversial decision in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford. Dred Scott, a black slave, brought suit against his owner on the grounds that he had legally become emancipated while traveling through the free soil state of Illinois. The Supreme Court ruled against Scott, declaring that as a black man he was not a United States citizen and thus had no right to bring a suit in a federal court. More importantly, The court ruled that a slave did not automatically gain his liberty by entering a free state.
The legal system was available to African Americans to a certain extent, which means that they could pursue their grievances through the courts, but it did not mean necessarily that the courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time. Courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time.
Brown wrested control of the armory, killed the town's mayor, and seized several hostages before he was captured by federal authorities and hanged 2 months later. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. He opposed the expansion of slavery, and his victory threw the South into revolt. By March of 1861, 7 states, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Texas, had seceded from the Union to form a coalition they called the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began 1 month later when Confederate gunfire sounded over the federal stronghold of Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Lincoln responded by issuing a call for 75,000 volunteers to man the Union Army.
Some historians argue that economic issues were of utmost importance in the causing of the war. Many historians, though, have come to the conclusion in recent years that slavery was the key issue which caused the Civil War. At the heart of the Civil War was the issue of whether or not the slave states were going to be able to maintain their status.
The abolitionists presented the president with 2 demands: the right of freed blacks to fight with the Union Army and the emancipation of the slaves.
The abolitionists were the men and women, black and white, that wanted to abolish or to end slavery. Many of the abolitionists were in the North, and they fought for many years to change the system that the country had accepted.
I'd like to add also that for women abolitionists, speaking in public was tremendously courageous, that the early 19th century was a time in which women did not generally speak in public. It was not considered the thing to do for respectable women.
Eventually, Lincoln acceded to both demands. Nearly 185,000 blacks fought valiantly during the Civil War, and about 38,000 of them gave their lives to the Union's cause. In December 1862, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, abolishing slavery. The war's end in April 1865 brought freedom to nearly 4 million slaves. Freedmen, as both males and females were called, celebrated throughout the South on plantations or at crossroads between them.
By word of mouth, news of the Emancipation Proclamation spread like wildfire throughout the Confederacy. The ability of African Americans to transmit messages before the Civil War, during the Civil War, is legendary, and this was another example of that legendary ability to communicate.
In December 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, guaranteeing the hard-won freedom of African slaves. It stated, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States." Emancipation throughout the South was followed by a period of intense confusion in which blacks made the dramatic transition from slavery to citizenship.
At first, a number of slaves decided to walk about, as the expression was in that time, to test freedom, to see what it really meant. But they soon discovered that life meant more than just having simple freedom without economic support. And so many were forced to go back to the old plantations and to contract with their owners for work.
In 1867, Congress fed up with the pussyfooting of the president, who was then Andrew Johnson, a slaveholder from Tennessee, and a man who had been Lincoln's vice president and who ascended to the office with the assassination of President Lincoln, passed the first Reconstruction Act in March of that year. And that placed the 10 of the 11 states of the Confederacy, the Fighting South, under military rule in 5 districts and annulled the governments of those states.
This reconstruction ushered in an era of reform, but did not alter the economic disparity between the former slaves and their masters. The South complied with the dictates of Reconstruction only because the military now occupied their territory, enforcing the new laws. As part of this revolutionary pattern in the South, Congress extended the right to vote to all free men, thus granting formerly unheard of power to the blacks. This new block of black voters, without a corresponding economic foundation, only increased the ability of the Republican Party to maintain temporary control of the United States.
After the Reconstruction, government failed and the Northern soldiers were pulled out of the South. Violence increased in the South. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan were attempting to take away the rights that had been gained by African Americans.
So, because people can play out this, last week I tell you about this lead singer sister passed away. One of my favorite a cappella groups.
Trust me, people. Yo, big up on yourself. You don't know. Yeah, man. Free yourself from mental slavery, is it? Or one of them things there. So, big up on yourself, my people. And you don't know, we catching on our next one. You see me? Yeah, man. Mad thing.
America.